The knife was trembling in my hand as I stood in David's secret house, staring at family photos covering the walls, photos of grandchildren I'd never met, a daughter-in-law I'd never known existed. 25 years of lies were about to explode in the most devastating confrontation of my life. The silence in that house was deafening, broken only by the ticking of a grandfather clock in the hallway and my own ragged breathing. I had never felt so betrayed, so completely destroyed by someone I loved more than life itself. But let me tell you how it all started, because this journey from discovery to redemption will change everything you believe about family, forgiveness, and the power of truth. My name is Margaret Sullivan, and at 78 years old, I thought I knew everything about my family. I live in Cedar Falls, Iowa, where I worked as high school principal for 35 years. People in this small town knew me as someone who could detect lies from a mile away, someone who always uncovered the truth when teenagers tried to deceive me. I had dealt with every kind of family drama imaginable: cheating scandals, secret pregnancies, hidden addictions, financial betrayals. I thought I'd seen it all. I was wrong. After my husband died when David was 12, it became just the two of us against the world. I sacrificed everything to raise my son, worked double shifts at the school, gave up my own social life, turned down 3 marriage proposals because I was determined to be the perfect mother. David was my whole universe, my pride and joy, my reason for breathing, the center of everything I did and everything I dreamed about for the future. Before I continue my story, I really want to know where you're watching me from. Tell me in the comments what city you're from, and if you can, please leave a like and subscribe to the channel. Every Sunday for 25 years, David visited me at exactly 1 p.m. for family dinner. The routine never varied. He'd park his silver Honda Accord in the same spot in my driveway, walk up the front steps with his hands in his pockets, and give me the same polite kiss on the cheek. We'd eat pot roast with mashed potatoes, green beans, and homemade dinner rolls, his favorite meal since childhood. We'd discuss his software engineering job at Technocore Solutions downtown, and I'd ask the same question I'd been asking for decades: when will you settle down and give me grandchildren? His answer was always identical, delivered with what I now realize was practiced ease. Mom, I'm married to my career. I don't have time for relationships. Maybe someday, but not right now. You know how demanding my job is. I'm working on this big project that requires all my attention. I believed every single word. Why wouldn't I? David had never been good at lying as a child. His face would turn red, he'd stutter, he'd avoid eye contact. When he told me he was too busy for love, I saw none of those telltale signs. But what I discovered would change everything I thought I knew about my son. It was March 15th when my world exploded into a million pieces. The day started innocently enough. I was planning to decorate for Easter, which meant retrieving my holiday decorations from the attic. David had asked me to store some boxes up there while he renovated his apartment downtown. Nothing unusual there. I'd been his personal storage facility for years, always happy to help my devoted son. The wooden stairs to my attic creaked ominously under my feet as I climbed upward, my arthritis making each step a small challenge. The air was thick with dust and the musty smell of old memories, cardboard boxes, and forgotten treasures. Christmas decorations were stored in the far corner behind several cardboard boxes marked David's stuff in his familiar, neat handwriting. As I maneuvered around his boxes, trying to reach my holiday supplies without disturbing his organized storage system, my elbow accidentally caught the corner of one container. It tumbled to the floor with a crash that echoed through the house like thunder, spilling its contents across the dusty wooden planks in a chaotic explosion of papers, photographs, and documents. At first, it looked like typical paperwork: tax returns, utility bills, random documents. Then I saw the corner of a photograph peeking out from under a manila folder. I pulled it free with shaking hands. What I saw made my blood turn to ice. It was David, my David, but he wasn't alone. He had his arm wrapped around a stunning blonde woman, both laughing on what looked like a tropical beach. Pure happiness radiated from their faces, the kind of love David claimed he'd never had time for. Little did I know this was just the beginning. I dug deeper into the scattered contents. More photographs emerged, each one like a physical blow. David and this woman at fancy restaurants here in Cedar Falls. David and this woman hiking trails I'd recommended. David and this woman at a New Year's Eve party, kissing as confetti fell around them. Hundreds of photos documenting years of shared experiences, intimate moments, a deeply committed relationship hidden from me with surgical precision. But the real shock was coming. Then I found the wedding photos, and my world completely shattered. Professional wedding portraits, dozens of them. David in a black tuxedo, looking happier than I'd ever seen him. The blonde woman in an elaborate white gown, dancing with my son at their wedding reception. The timestamp read July 14th, 2001, 23 years ago. My son had been married for 23 years, and I knew nothing about it. I sat on that dusty attic floor, wedding photos scattered around me, and wept harder than I had since my husband's death. How could David, who visited me every Sunday, who called me twice a week, who helped with every household repair, have hidden a wife from me for over 2 decades? But the nightmare was just beginning. What I found next would haunt me forever. Family portraits. Professional family portraits showing David, his secret wife, and 3 children who had my son's eyes and smile. I had grandchildren. 3 beautiful grandchildren I'd never met, never held, never spoiled with cookies and bedtime stories. The oldest was a little girl with long brown hair and David's mischievous grin, about 6 years old in recent photos. Behind her were twin boys, maybe 4 years old, both with bright blue eyes that ran in our family. These children called my son Daddy. They had his laugh, his stubborn cowlick, his way of tilting his head when thinking. They were Sullivans, and I'd never known they existed. But what I discovered next exposed 25 years of elaborate deception. Hidden beneath the family photos was a thick manila envelope marked "Important Documents" in David's handwriting. Inside were birth certificates bearing the Sullivan name. Emma Grace Thompson Sullivan, born June 12, 2017. Father, David Michael Sullivan. Mother, Rebecca Ann Thompson Sullivan, Michael James Sullivan, born September 3, 2019. Father, David Michael Sullivan. Mother, Rebecca Ann Thompson Sullivan, Matthew John Sullivan, born September 3, 2019. Father, David Michael Sullivan. Mother, Rebecca Ann Thompson Sullivan. The twins shared a birthday. Emma was the older sister. Rebecca Ann Thompson Sullivan was my daughter-in-law, a woman who'd been part of my family for over 2 decades without me knowing she existed. But that was just the tip of the iceberg. Property deeds, mortgage papers, home insurance policies, all showing David owned a house at 1247 Maple Street, Cedar Falls, the same town where I lived, the same town where he claimed to rent a small downtown apartment. David's signature was on every document, along with Rebecca's. They'd been homeowners since 2002, 1 year after their secret wedding. A 4-bedroom colonial valued at $385,000 with a large backyard and 2-car garage. I knew that neighborhood. I'd driven past that street countless times. My son's secret family lived 15 minutes from my house. School enrollment forms showed Emma attending Cedar Falls Elementary, where I'd been principal until retirement. Michael and Matthew were enrolled in Little Learners Preschool. These children went to school in the same district where I'd worked my entire career. The weight of everything I'd missed crushed me. First words, first steps, first school days, Christmas mornings, birthday parties, bedtime stories, scraped knees needing kisses, bad dreams needing comfort. 3 entire childhoods had happened without me. Medical records showed Emma had broken her arm at age 5. Michael was hospitalized with pneumonia as a toddler. Matthew wore glasses for nearsightedness, just like David at that age. My grandchildren had faced childhood fears and milestones without their grandmother there. But what I found at the envelope's bottom would explain everything. Cell phone bills dating back to 2001. Studying them with new eyes, I saw the pattern clear as day. Every Sunday morning, David made 2 calls before driving to my house. First to Rebecca's number at 11:30 a.m., lasting exactly 10 minutes. Second, to a babysitter at 11:45 a.m., 3 minutes. He was checking in with his wife and arranging childcare before performing his dutiful son routine with me, every Sunday for 25 years. But the most heartbreaking discovery was the printed emails between David and Rebecca, subject lines that broke my heart. Emma asked about Grandma again today. The twins want to make Mother's Day cards for both grandmas. I can't keep lying to the children about why they've never met her. From Rebecca, 3 years ago. David, Emma understands most children have grandparents on both sides. She asks why she's never met your mother. You said she lives far away, but I discovered she lives 20 minutes from us. What do I tell Emma when she asks why Grandma Margaret never visits? David's response: you have to trust me. My mother is complicated. She takes over everything and makes it about her. I've seen her destroy relationships before. I can't risk her poisoning what we have. From Rebecca last year: I can't do this anymore. The twins see other children with grandparents at school events. They want to know why Daddy's mom never comes. Either you include your mother in our lives healthily, or be honest about why she's not part of our family. That email had no response from David. If this story is shocking you, hit that subscribe button, because what I found next will blow your mind. At the box's bottom, wrapped in tissue paper, was a leather-bound journal. Our Family Story, the Sullivan Family Chronicles. Rebecca's neat handwriting documented their life year by year. But interspersed throughout were David's handwritten notes, confessions he'd never shared with his wife about our relationship. Year 1, Rebecca's entry. David says his mother is complicated, and we should keep our relationship private. He seems sad discussing her, but won't explain why. I trust him completely. David's margin note: I told Rebecca Mom lives in Chicago, not Cedar Falls. I couldn't tell her Mom lives 20 minutes away and calls 6 times daily when upset. Rebecca deserves peace. Year 5, Rebecca's entry. David got a phone call during Emma's birthday party and stepped outside. When he returned, his hands were shaking. He said it was work, but it was Saturday. David's note: Mom called during Emma's party because she was lonely. She spent 40 minutes discussing her neighbor argument. I missed Emma blowing out candles because I was too afraid to hang up. I hate being such a coward. Year 10, Rebecca's entry. David's mother called our house phone. I don't know how she got the number. She wanted to know who I was. When I said I was his wife, she hung up. David came home to 6 hysterical voicemails. David's note: I told Mom Rebecca was a friend house-sitting. I hated lying, but couldn't handle the alternative. Mom would have demanded to meet Rebecca, wanting involvement in every marriage aspect, critiquing every decision. I've seen her destroy my relationships before. The entries painted a picture of a man torn between worlds, protecting his family from what he perceived as my controlling behavior while managing my emotional demands. But the real truth was still hidden. Taped to the journal's back cover was a small brass key. My instincts said it was important. The next morning, I called every Cedar Falls bank about safety deposit boxes. First National Bank confirmed they had a box registered to David Michael Sullivan. Showing identification proving our shared name, they hesitantly let me access it. Box number 247 contained documents that made my blood run cold. Restraining order applications, filled out but never filed. 3 of them from different years, all with David's signature. 2003, harassment, stalking, and emotional manipulation, my name as the subject. 2010, threatening to contact employer, unannounced residence visits, attempting to manipulate family relationships. 2018, ongoing emotional abuse, invasion of privacy, stalking behavior, threats to interfere with parental rights. David had considered legal action against me 3 times, but never followed through. Police incident reports I'd never known existed. August 15, 2005. Domestic disturbance, 412 Oak Street, David's old apartment. Female subject, age 62, creating disturbance outside residence at 11:30 p.m. demanding entry, shouting neglect accusations. Margaret Sullivan. David requested his mother leave premises. I remembered that night. David hadn't returned calls for 3 days because he'd been on his Hawaii honeymoon, which I'd known nothing about. December 3rd, 2008. Harassment complaint by David Sullivan against Margaret Sullivan. I'd called his workplace 17 times in one day because he'd missed our Tuesday call. He'd missed it because Rebecca was in labor with Emma. June 22nd, 2015. Stalking complaint. I'd followed David from his apartment to an unknown location, sitting outside for 3 hours. The location was 1247 Maple Street, his family's home. But the most damaging document was at the pile's bottom. A letter addressed to me, written in David's handwriting, dated 8 months ago. The envelope read, "To be delivered to Margaret Sullivan in the event of my death or disappearance." With trembling hands, I broke the seal. "Dear Mom, if you're reading this, something happened to me, and the truth about my life needs exposure. I've lived a double life for 25 years. I've been married to Rebecca Ann Thompson since July 14th, 2001. We have 3 children, Emma Grace, born June 12th, 2017, Michael James and Matthew John, born September 3rd, 2019. They're your grandchildren, the most beautiful, intelligent, loving children who ever existed. I kept them secret, not because I don't love you, but because I love them too much to expose them to the emotional chaos that defined my childhood and continues defining our relationship. Mom, you're not bad, but you cannot exist peacefully alongside others' happiness unless you're its center. Every relationship I attempted, you found ways to sabotage. Every achievement I celebrated, you diminished unless it reflected glory on you. Every boundary I set, you trampled in love's name. Love that demands control isn't love, it's emotional imprisonment. I couldn't let you do to my children what you did to me. The children ask about you constantly. Emma draws pictures of you. She's written letters I never sent, made gifts sitting in my closet because I couldn't bridge the gap between the grandmother they deserve and the mother you've been. Your son, David. The letter fell from my hands as 25 years of blindness lifted. I saw myself clearly, not as the devoted mother I'd believed, but as the emotionally needy, controlling woman who'd driven her child to live a double life. But what happened next proved it's never too late to change your story. I drove straight to 1247 Maple Street. My heart hammered as I parked across from a beautiful 2-story colonial with wraparound porch and manicured lawn. Wind chimes tinkled in spring breeze. Children's bicycles scattered across the yard. Through the front window, I saw David at a kitchen table helping a little girl with homework. She gestured excitedly, explaining something. David's face was relaxed and patient, unlike our Sunday dinners. In the living room, twin boys built something elaborate with Legos. A blonde woman, Rebecca, stirred something on the stove while helping the boys find pieces. She'd glance at David and Emma with pure contentment. This was the life my son built in secret. This was the peace he'd protected from me. I sat there 4 hours, watching the family I'd been excluded from. They gathered for dinner, holding hands for grace. David's smile was genuine, nothing like the polite mask during our visits. He laughed at Emma's comments, ruffled the twins' hair, kissed Rebecca's forehead. After dinner, David cleared the table while Rebecca supervised bath time. Emma practiced piano, her fingers picking out Disney melodies. When she made mistakes, she'd giggle and restart, unburdened by perfectionism. At bedtime, David and Rebecca took turns reading stories. Emma got her own story in her pink bedroom. The twins shared a room with bunk beds and glow-in-the-dark stars. This was healthy family life. This was what David created without me. The next Sunday, when David arrived for our usual dinner, I had every photograph, document, and piece of evidence spread across my dining room table like trial exhibits. His face drained of color, seeing 25 years of secrets laid bare. "Sit down, David. We need to talk." He collapsed into his chair, hands trembling as he reached for the wedding photo at the display's center. "Mom, I can explain." 25 years, I interrupted, voice steady despite internal storm. 25 years lying to my face every Sunday, 3 grandchildren I've never met, a daughter-in-law who thinks I live across country. David's shoulders shook as suppressed guilt poured out. I wanted to tell you so many times, but I knew you'd ruin it. You always do, Mom. Every good thing in my life, you make about you. Truth hit harder than any physical slap. I read Rebecca's journal, I said quietly. I know she wanted to meet me. I know the kids ask about their grandmother. I found your letter. David's head snapped up, eyes wide with panic. What letter? The one explaining what kind of mother I've been. The one calling my love emotional imprisonment. For the first time in 52 years, my son looked at me without fear or obligation. He looked with raw, honest pain. You want to know why I kept them secret? Because I love them too much to let you destroy them like you destroyed every relationship I attempted. My daughter Emma has the most beautiful laugh, and I couldn't bear watching you find criticism until that laugh disappeared. My sons are kind, gentle souls. I refused letting you turn them into anxious people-pleasers like you turned me. Each word was a nail in the coffin of the mother I thought I'd been. I've spent my entire adult life walking on eggshells around you. Do you know how exhausting it is being 52 and still terrified of your mother's emotional reactions? Silence stretched between us like a 25-year chasm. Finally, I found my voice. So what happens now? But what I did next surprised us both and changed everything. I pulled out my phone, dialing Rebecca's number from David's old bills. David's eyes widened, realizing what I was doing. Rebecca? This is Margaret Sullivan, David's mother. I think it's time we met. Deafening silence. Finally, Rebecca's voice came through, cautious but curious. Mrs. Sullivan? How did you get this number? Long story, honey. I was wondering if you and the children would like Sunday dinner. I have 25 years of grandmother love to catch up on. David stared like I'd grown a second head. This wasn't the controlling, manipulative reaction he'd expected. I need to talk to David first, Rebecca said carefully. Of course, he's right here. That Sunday dinner was the first honest conversation David and I shared in 30 years. Instead of him performing dutiful son and me performing sacrificing mother, we talked about real things. His fears, my loneliness, how we'd both contributed to the toxic dynamic driving him to create Secret Life. But the real test came the following Sunday when Rebecca's minivan pulled into my driveway. Emma bounded up my front steps like she'd been visiting her grandmother her whole life. The twins were more cautious, hiding behind their mother's legs, studying this new person. Rebecca looked exactly like her photos, kind eyes, warm smile, obvious protectiveness over her family. Are you really our secret grandma? Emma asked as I knelt to her level. I'm your not-so-secret grandma now, I replied, and she threw her arms around my neck like we'd known each other forever. That first dinner was awkward and wonderful and heartbreaking. I learned Michael loved dinosaurs and could name every species. Matthew was the family artist, drawing elaborate pictures for everyone he loved. Emma was the performer, singing Disney songs and putting on shows. They were perfect, and I'd missed all of it. But what happened over the next months proved it's never too late to change your story. I didn't try making up for 25 years of missed birthdays all at once. Instead, I focused on becoming the grandmother these children deserved moving forward. I learned their favorite foods, bedtime routines, dreams, and fears. I attended Emma's dance recitals, cheered at the twins' soccer games, helped with homework on rainy afternoons. More importantly, I learned stepping back and letting David be the father he'd become without my interference. I watched him parent with confidence and joy, free from constant worry about upsetting me. Rebecca and I slowly built mutual respect instead of competing for David's attention. Healing wasn't instant or easy. There were moments when old controlling instincts kicked in, and I had to consciously choose different responses. There were conversations where David set boundaries I had to respect despite the hurt. There were times Rebecca reminded me their family functioned perfectly without me for 25 years. My role was adding to their happiness, not reorganizing it. 6 months after that devastating attic discovery, something miraculous happened. David called Tuesday evening. Not for any special reason, not our scheduled day, but because he wanted to talk. He told me about his work day, asked my advice about a problem, invited me for spontaneous pizza dinner. For the first time in his adult life, my son voluntarily included me because he wanted my company, not because obligation demanded it. "Mom," he said as we sat on Rebecca's front porch watching the kids chase fireflies, "I need to apologize for lying so many years." "David, you don't owe me." "Yes, I do. I was so afraid of confronting our relationship problems that I chose deception. I robbed you of knowing your grandchildren and robbed them of knowing you. That wasn't fair to anyone." I watched Emma catch a firefly in cupped hands, her face glowing with wonder as she showed her brothers before gently releasing it. "You were protecting your family," I said. "I may not like how you did it, but I understand why you felt you had to." "You've changed, Mom. Really changed. The grandmother my kids are getting to know is nothing like the mother I grew up with." It was the greatest compliment he'd ever given me. Share this story if it moved you, because everyone deserves to know that it's never too late to change the person you've been. 1 year later, I received life's most precious gift, a handmade Grandparents' Day card from Emma. Inside, her careful 7-year-old handwriting read, "My Grandma Margaret is the best grandma in the world. She makes the best cookies and always listens to my songs and gives the best hugs. I love her so much." Attached was a drawing of our whole family, David and Rebecca, the 3 kids, and me, all holding hands under a rainbow. At the bottom, our happy family. 25 years of lies and secrets led to 1 year of truth and healing. That truth gave me something I'd never had. A family that loved me not because they had to, but because they wanted to. The woman who climbed those attic stairs looking for Christmas decorations demanded love through guilt and manipulation. The woman who came down learned that real love can only be freely given, never forced. Sometimes the most devastating discoveries lead to the most beautiful transformations. Sometimes losing the family you thought you had is the only way to find the family you were meant to be. David still comes for Sunday dinner, but now he brings his wife and children, and instead of watching the clock until escape, he stays late because he doesn't want the day to end. That's the power of choosing truth over comfort, healing over pride, and love over control. And it all started with photographs scattered across an attic floor, waiting 25 years to tell their story.